What-o! Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Just getting myself ready and prepared. And as ever, these don't stay on because they're me reading gogs, of a certain age. Just quickly get that. So I'll go straight to the comments because we've got a lot to talk about. I'm not sure if you know what's going on in the world, but we're going to, have a look at that this evening. Most definitely. Let me just, hang on. That's better. Andrew James says, before the live starts, smash the like button. Like it is a stuck farmer's face, and listen to Straw Man by Lou Reed. Oh, I say, new song on me. I mean, I know Lou Reed, obviously. And watch these films: The Field, The River, The Country, The Amber Waves, and Bit to Harvest. What? All before the live starts? Well, I never... the cough's still here, by the way. Thank you, Andrew. Stuart says, here, Rev. Evening. I have a request from the Choir Boys. Oh, I say, it was marvellous film. Marvellous film. It was, I read the book a long time ago, The Choir Boys, all about American police in, I think it was New York. And they were some bunch. Turned into a film, but there was a phrase that they used in the book which made me roar with laughter every time that I read it. Basically, they called it a diamond cutter. I'll let you use your imagination because I can't go into detail. What? But just telling you, the phrase diamond cutter, loved it. So, can I just show this to Stuart? This evening, the proper cup, the proper mug is full. That's mug of, not mug. I have a request from the Choir Boys, Reverend, that you want your hibiscus extra hot, and I suggested a Jaeger bomb hibiscus, but the lads tell me they want a sober Rev, so it looks like you're making your own. I did. I had to make my own, but bit of a hibiscus Jaeger bomb. That sounds absolutely fabby. As I have told you before, Jägermeister is the breakfast of skiing champions, and it has been known for me to get up, wash my face, get my salopettes on, and my thermals, obvs, and just get a couple of Jaeger shots down me, and I stay warm for the whole day. I mean, what is not to like? You don't care, basically. You can fall over, you wouldn't break or hurt anything because you just don't care. So, yes, Stuart, I think it would be very remiss if I ended up having a hibiscus bomb. But, boy, I'd love doing the... Stuart says, Jaeger bombs have a warming effect. Yes, so does wearing incontinence pants. Because, do you know... Are you the same as me? I get into a car that have got like these warm seats. You know these seats, you push buttons and all of a sudden they heat up. Well, every time I've been in a friend's car with warm seats, I think, oh, have I just wet myself? Am I the only one? Must be me and me incontinence then. Thank you, Stuart. Super Ted. Evening, Adrian. Looking forward to the show, mate. Thank you, Super Ted. Good to have you in the body of the Kirk. Karen Boo's early in. Karen Boo says, hello, everyone. It's getting colder. Oh, yeah, even the brass monkeys are walking around with welding gear in this weather. Not allotment weather, let me tell you. Hope you all have long johns on anyone for tea. Long is good, but as far as johns are concerned, but as the old saying goes, long and thin, too far in, short and thick, does the trick. What am I talking about? Oh, I have no idea. Bovril, evening all. Having a cheese sandwich and a cuppa, feet up in the vestry. Very nice to you, Bovril. Very nice. As I say, there's nothing better than pulling a cheese toastie apart. If you know the gag, you know the gag. If you don't, well, I'm not going to tell you here. It might put the Bovril of his cheese toastie, his Welsh rarebit. Des Ashton, good to have you in the body of the Kirk this evening, Des. Des says, good evening all. I hope there is room down the front of the Kirk, perhaps nearer the flames of hell. Well, if you get down near the front, there might be a little extra altar wine. I have said to the choir boys, not only does there need to be altar wine, but there needs to be that, lovely, warm, fruity drink that you have when you go skiing. That I can't remember the name of because I'm losing my mind. But a hot toddy. We definitely. I mean, the heating's not in the body of the Kirk. How are you, man? I don't have that much money. I can't put the heating on. The heating might go on at some point for maybe a week in January. But other than that, extra jumper. But I do, when I go abroad skiing, God, I love their them warm fruity teas with alcohol in it. And if you go to, as I did many a time, to the Edinburgh markets around the country, mine was in Edinburgh. I do love a warm alcoholic mulled wine. Thank you, Kathy. You saved me bacon. Talking of food. So, mulled wine, mulled. So, if you manage to get anywhere near the front of the body of the Kirk, then there might be a mulled wine for you. It's a nice big barrel of it. I'm not quite sure who's looking after it this evening, though. Might be empty by the time we get in. Paulie Galtieri. Hey up, Adrian, me old duck. That's the old. You're wrong. Andrew James says, Tories closed down the mines. Labour are going to close down the farms. There's no such thing as small farms, you sighs, Queen. We're not into, it doesn't have to be big. Just has to operate properly. Have you seen all the machinery on a farm? Tocker 69, good to have you in the body of the Kirk this evening, Tocker 69. Evening, you utter wrong'uns. Nicky Watson says, evening, Adrian. Evening, you wrong'uns. Bloody cold out there tonight. That's why I've got... I haven't got the heating on. I'm a tight northerner. What do you mean? No heating. She's probably going to divorce me, but I don't care. No heating. Switch it off you go. Not until it gets down to at least -10, and I've got ice on my nose. Sorry, when it gets down to -10, and I've got my heat on. I've got me icicle on my nose, for want of a better word. That's when the heating goes on. In my house. That's why I've got no friends. Nobody will come and see me. Dr. 69, just got on. Time for some holy smoke. In the field, Alex says, evening all. Can I join Stuart with a request for the choir boys? Zig Zig Sputnik, Love Missile F1. Oh, I remember that in the field. What a tune that was. Actually, one of Zig Zig Sputnik's a friend, like a Facebook friend or something. Martin Degville, who was one of the talent. Stuart says he's loving this cold weather. You will do if you get a mulled wine in your hand. Oh, there's nothing better, I swear to God. Amalia has remembered. Wonderful. Thank you, Amalia. Our heating is on and it's staying fecking on if I have anything to do with it. Feck the system. Exactly. I love it when Amalia gets a bit riled. Ray Norton says, pensioners can't put heating on tonight as winter allowance being sent to Sudan. Thanks to Lammy. Here, where is David Lammy? Is he like buggering about abroad somewhere? Or unfortunate turn of phrase. But where is he? We've got war kicking off. We're at war, by the way. So we've got war kicking off. And where's David Lammy? He's the Foreign Secretary. He should be like, right, Vladimir, you can pack that in. Or I'll come across there and I'll bring me reparation mates with me. I'll bring the Africans with me, or the Jamaicans, or wherever he's from. But I'm going to talk about PMQs. There's a lot to talk about tonight. So that's why I'm not hanging around, so to speak. And I would like you to interact. So I'm looking at the stats for the lives. And I think YouTube, actually, I mean, I know you like to comment and interact, but YouTube isn't recording them. So in the words of the great Chinese philosopher, feck YouTube, me and you's going to talk tonight. Me and you's just going to set the world to right. So the tone of the live this evening is one word, hope. Because there's I've been reading the morning papers, as I do regularly for the last 2 years at least. And, well, they're just not. It's all fear porn. I can say it on the live because it's not monetized. Fear porn, that's all it is. They just cram it full of fear. And I read them every day and I think, holy Jesus. I mean, give us a break. Is there no humour anymore? Is there no humanity? Is there no... And of course there's not. So tonight, the theme of tonight's live is going to be hope. And that's what the sermon is all around. So welcome to the Wednesday sermon. Budge up if you're taking up a bit of extra space in the pews. Yeah, wrongin'. We have got a special. I hope the choir boys are not mucking about in the vestry with that. I think it was the All Bovril with his cheese toasty. I do hope they'll be able to allow everyone to have at least a small snifter of some mulled wine, as well as the altar wine and Battenberg. Because we do need the Battenberg. It keeps, it keeps the old blood flowing and keeps you warm, as well as thermals and extra jackets and big rusky winter hats. I have got a few of them from honestly, one of these nights I'll put my ski gear on. That would be funny for the live. You wouldn't hear me. Do you want to see me polish my helmet? Skiing helmet. It's a particular shape. Where are we? Hang on a second. Andrew James says, all the lads in the kirk have shriveled up and all the ladies have covered up. Correct. Remember I told you in the last live about this thing called, forgive me ladies for, just not being a gentleman using this kind of language, but what did they call it? Winter penis. It shrivels by 50%. We know. There's no need to tell us. Give us a bloody complex. Stuart says, I hate how easily offended people are now. Just as well, Stuart, because I think it was very potty mouth on Sunday. It might get there tonight. And I'm sort of welcoming people into the body of the kirk simply because we are going to have some very weighty subject, but at the same time, I want to bring a little brevity, a bit of lightness, a bit of humour to the live, and I would like you to interact with all your opinions on absolutely everything. Excuse me. Who was I going to? Oh yeah, Terry Wookfit's in the body of the kirk. Bloody hell. Keen tonight, Terry. He says, depends on where you're skiing. Cyprus. Oh, I say brandy sours. Oh, I lived in Scotland for ages, 10 years. And the Scots love sour stuff, Mr. Wookfit. And I'm a sweet boy. However you want to take it. Germany, Feuerzangerbowls. I think the euphemistic term for whatever that is in German is bollocks. France Vinshaw, similar to Glühwein. Oh, Glühwein, mulled wine, Glühwein, take me to heaven. There's nothing better than a couple of Jaeger bombs, Jägermeisters, first thing, because they just put them in little shot bottles. They're wonderful. I mean, I clink when I walk back in through, nothing to declare. But oh yes, I do like the Glühwein, the mulled wine. Wonderful. So the Jägermeister keeps you going for a couple of hours while your legs warm up, getting your ski legs on. And then by the time you got to lunchtime, you're definitely on the Glühwein. Andrew James says, oh, right, we've done that. PT Ham, Adrian, did you know Howard Hughes from Talk TV passed away last week? PT Ham, thank you. Yes, I did. And I knew Howard, and it was very sad news. I think the news broke on last Saturday evening. And Howard, I think, wanted to come up to Century 106 and do a phone-in. And at the time, we were looking for people to dep for me, because I'd been working like non-stop 6 days, nights a week. And Howard sent his demo in, a demo tape or CD or whatever it was. And David Lloyd, the then managing director, said, should we get Howard in, Adrian? Here's his demo. Have a listen. Oh, what a voice that boy had. What a voice. And I remember listening to him on Capital, on Tarrant's breakfast show. So we nearly, and then I met him later on in kind of like, the movers and shakers. And it was very sad news, very sad news. I also had some very sad news of a dear, dear friend of mine that passed away a couple of days ago. And that's why I'm saying about the newspapers and fear. And there's an awful lot of death going around. Don't know what is causing it. I do have my suspicions. But when it's when it's close to you, it's challenging. So I think Howard passing away last weekend, I think he'd been ill for a little while, but not sure. We don't know the cause. But it really affected the old radio pros because, as I've said to you before, radio is a very small industry, very small. And you're talking maybe 50 or 60 back in the day, the real romantic times in commercial radio. You're only talking about 50 or 60 presenters. And if you were doing radio in the 80s, you kind of knew all the radio stations and you would know a lot of either verbally or word of mouth, or you would meet them as you go around at all the ligging and blagging that everybody did. But Howard was always, in my view, Howard was always a gentleman. Always, always, always. But very sad news. And that's why this evening I'd like to have things a little balanced. We are going to touch on some very weighty subjects. We have to. There's stuff going on in the world that we have to get to grips with. We have to. These are adult conversations that we have on these lives, and that's why we have these adult conversations, because simply you can't get them anywhere else. And I know that people, on people in social media, that post and record videos and are creators and all that malarkey. I don't know. It's almost as if they copy other people. They look at the most successful ones and just copy them and get all this following, and but they never really get into the meat of a subject. Leah says, I stopped listening to MSN, the mainstream media, in 2020. I gave, until I came back to YouTube, I sort of gave the news up a long time ago. And I can tell you this, they're still spouting shite. They're still, if you look at the Trump election or the general election, or what we're being fed, the propagandists, what we're being fed, like today, for example, before we get into the meat, so to speak, of tonight's sermon, I thought, oh, hang on a second, Deadeye's Starmer is out of the country. Ray Norton says BBC News is the comedy channel. And Leah says, I now get my news from social media. The good channels like AA. Oh, Leah, you're far too kind. So I went onto the BBC channel because I always on a Wednesday like to have a look at PMQ, see what they're asking, see what they're talking about, joining the dots up and saying what's what. I couldn't find the link on the BBC anywhere. I tried all the different, iPlayers and news channel. Sometimes I go over to the Parliament channel. Couldn't get the link. Didn't get the link until 12:15. And I thought to myself, hang on a second, Ginger Growler, she'll be at the dispatch box. Why would they want Ginger Growler not to be on telly? Well, maybe Deadeye's Starmer has decided he might be being usurped from the inside. Maybe, but couldn't get the link. And it wasn't until 12:15 that I managed to get the link and get into whatever Ginger Growler was saying. And Kemi Badenough, she wasn't there either. And then they had some deputy of the Lib Dems, was it Daisy Cooper, stand up, and I was like, oh, who are you? Who are you? And I was like, hang on a second, what's up? What's this with all the women? What's going on? So Starmer's not there, Badenough's not there, and on me head Davy is not there either. They're all sirs. Well, she's not, Badenough. But I just thought, why are they doing this? And then it got to 12:37, and the BBC went, oh, here, enough. off you go. Hang on, just got to get rid of that. Off you go. And so Rod Stewart, oh, bloody hell. Yeah, Bluetooth's off. And at 12:37, they were still going on, and I was like, hang on a second, was she late? Like, you get to be standing in for the Prime Minister, seemingly the most important politician in the country, and you were late? Is that why we couldn't find it? That why it wasn't streaming? And the BBC cut it short, 12:37. I mean, Ginger Growler, don't she have a watch on? Yes, she was. She was wearing an Apple Watch. Why? Just bloody hell, man. It's not Einstein. It's not... Well, maybe it is for these clowns. But did you see the dress she was wearing? Not that I've gone all, uphill Gardner, but I was looking at her dress thinking, was that a freebie? And if it is, was Stevie Wonder your dresser? Because, like, the dress was too dark for the telly. And you think, hang on, you're in the Houses of Parliament and you're on telly at 12 o'clock, to use a bit of Northern. I should get any Northern in her. And she's like wearing this, I mean, it was a cross between being dressed by Stevie Wonder and wearing something that Mary Poppins would have worn. And it was, mind you, better than the green suit she normally wears. Isn't Ginger from Oldham, says Pennine Counties. Ginger Growler? Yeah, I think so. I heard somebody else using that term, Ginger Growler, the other day. I was thinking, oh, blimey, I'm having an effect. Amalia Grassi, Ben Kennedy's Bad Wolf Project, Neil Cunningham. She'd blow you out in bubbles. Suck you in and blow you out in bubbles. I mean, I wouldn't, well, if I did, I would tie a plank to me back first. Oh, the first bit of hibiscus. She's from Stockport, Manchester. From the chair, apparently, when the Prime Minister isn't there to do PMQs, the leader cannot ask questions. Oh, I say. Every day's a school day in the chair, from the chair. Has to be a deputy, but apparently, bad enough, doesn't have any deputy at all. Because they've all legged it. What did I see over the last couple of days? We didn't really talk about it on the Sunday Live. But James Cleverly is possibly in line for the London Mayor's job. Things to make you go, her trouser suit looks terrible on her. I know. It's like, where did you get it from? Poundland. Or what's that other one that is dirt cheap? Begins with a P. Does it begin with a P? God, you can tell how many times I go shopping every year. Marley Grassy, I love Eccles cakes. Oh, me too. Marley, you're always talking food, man. You make me hungry. That's why I have to have me hibiscus. Anyway. Oi. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. Welcome. Make sure you budge up. Hopefully, Diane Abbott's going to be Chancellor with her hibiscus. No, abacus. Mine's the hibiscus. And just Primary Pep and Co. God blimey, you're all having your own. Primark, thank you, Debbie75. Not that I've ever been in there. I went in there once. I was thinking, how cheap is this? But excuse me, excuse my manners. So next live this coming Sunday, 8 o'clock. As always, we're getting into our rhythm now as we hurtle headlong into that big week that begins with a C and is very expensive. Are we 5 weeks away now? Just over a month. 5 weeks away. Scary. So thank you to the legendary Battenbergers. Thank you to Stuart, who very kindly said, Adrian, the Scooby snacks are on me. Thank you, Stuart, and thank you for your continued support. And then I was thinking, hang on a second. The Milky Bars are on me. Hang on a second. Who's Lord Ali buggered? Well, you can tell by dead eyes. Starmer. Have you noticed? Well, sorry, Stuart. We'll get to the Scooby snacks in a second and the Milky Bar Kid. Have you noticed? I saw somebody talking to him after the G20, and they were talking to him, and his eyes are dead. Don't know what's going on with that man, but Keir Starmer's eyes are dead. They're like shark's eyes. And, I mean, he's not an apex predator, but that boy's eyes are dead. He didn't blink. He hardly blinked at all during this interview. And I was thinking, what the bloody hell's that man on? Is he on strong coffee or something? Pennine Counties, the Milky Bars are on him. The cheese sandwiches are on me, says the old Bovril. But the next time you see Dead Eyes Starmer, and he's kind of like this close up to the camera, no way. Tracy, the celibate sinner, Battenberg mince pies, now in the vestry. Don't all run. Hang on. I need somebody to kind of watch this. Don't all bugger off to the vestry for the Battenberg mince pies. Do they have any squirty, that squirty stuff that you put on food? If you put squirty stuff on the top of those Battenberg mince pies, would there be cream pies? Just asking for a friend. So the Scooby Snacks are on, Stuart. Thank you, Stuart. And it just brought back the Milky Bar Kid. Is strong and tough. Only the best is good enough. The creamiest milk, the whitest bars, the goodness that's in Milky Bars. Now, that's how advertising works. 50 years later, I'm quoting a bloody poem I've never quoted before from the telly. You don't half distract me. To Rich, thank you for an honest appraisal of the current news. Thank you, Rich, for your continued support. To Alan, thank you very much for your donation to the church-led fund, because the scroats from around the corner nicked most of the lead off the roof, so I'm having to re-lead the roof. And Steve Conlon, as ever, Steve, thank you for your generosity and kindness. So to Stuart, to Rich, to Alan, and to Steve Conlon, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Maybe we should start a church roof fund, or maybe I should go and nick some lead. Leah says you've got an amazing memory, Adrian. No, I think it's the hibiscus. I think somebody's laced it with something. You know that, he's got, fill you in. I'd heard that. Because as I said on Sunday, Tommy was in Belmarsh, and the chat we're not allowed to talk about, obviously because I don't want to prejudice any legal process, and I am a fan of the law and staying on the right side of the law. But he was like 2 cells, 2 floors down, and regularly going to mosque, which is brilliant for a good Christian. Maybe he's been converted inside. Who knows? Well, Dead Eye Starmer knows for a kickoff. So thank you to all the legendary Battenbergers. Thank you, fill you in. Alan says at least a yucca plant will get watered. Yeah. What do you mean? There's nothing wrong with my yucca plant. That's now, hang on a second, 2012. Oh, it's 12 years old, that. Not bad. It's a magnificent erection that I'm quite proud of. Don't you know? So we are looking for, no one has actually posted any hymns for us to sing in our service at any of the sermons. So I think that's a bit remiss. So if anybody's got any good ideas, I did think about having a church orchestra for Christmas, so we could play some Christmas carols while we're enjoying our cream pies and festive pies and hairy pies and things. Battenberg mainly in the vestry, unless the Bovril is making everybody cheese toasties. So I did think, we could have a bit of a church. We could have a church orchestra of sorts, loosely called an orchestra. And then I thought, I wonder whether Tracy, the celibate sinner, would like to be on the mouth organ. Because then, well, it's wonderful, a mouth organ, because you can suck and blow at the same time and still get a very, very good tune out of the organ. Mouth organ, of course. I think the mighty organ in the church would have to have an expert on it. I think that Tracy, the celibate sinner, would sadly, now that she's given up the cucumber patch, would probably only amount to a mouth organ. I don't think she's any good tickling the ivories, so to speak. But you never know. Skilled. talented woman. I did think maybe I should. It would be all very diddy if I started playing a mouth organ and sucking and blowing a mouth organ whilst on here, because then you would be like, "Ooh, Adrian, I say, really? You and Keir Starmer?" Phil, you in our school hymn books was once called "Come and Praise," but they need wiped down after every sermon. In the field, mind you, Chrislam is spreading. Very good. I've got a brand new combine harvester, but Starmer stole the key. He's probably flogged it off on Facebook Marketplace for a £5. Des Ashton says, all things bright and beautiful. Do I know the one? All things bright and beautiful. All creatures great and small. All things bright and beautiful. The Lord God made them all. Who are we talking about? Brian Clough. The old Bovril. Beer bottles in the manger. Mary peed out of her head. Joe's on the church roof. Nick in the lead. Brilliant. Brilliant. So, as we are, I think we're a little boisterous this evening. Not quite sure what's going on, but we're a little boisterous. So let's get into what is going on in this mad world of ours. Good title for a film. It's not me and you. It's like a collective we. But it's Deadeye's Starmer and his lot are now at war with Russia. Don't know whether you knew that. But Putin over the last few days, Volodymyr, he didn't go to the G20, by the way. Somebody's really pissed him off. But Joe Biden, the American president, he didn't make it. He didn't make it for the big collective photo that they go, right, lads, we'll have the communists to the right, we'll have the Christians and the Jesuits to the left, and there's loads of communists here this year, so why don't we just mix and mingle? What shall we have as an icebreaker? Hello, Xi Ping Pong. My name's Adrian. Do you get much? He's a communist. No, he doesn't. In the field, it's chilly out. We've all had a wee nip. It's so cold outside, my nipples could key the cars if I walked past them in the front street. I've got the Battenberg. Get me out of here, says Rick. Of course. So we're now at Russia. We're now at war with Russia, sadly. And do you know something? I did think about this just before I came on air, so to speak. And do you know there's only one country that's ever used nuclear bombs, nuclear weapons, and it's not Russia? I would love it if Starmer went up to the Chinese president and went, oh, hello, President Whiff Waff. Bit of a jape. But there's only one country that's used nuclear weapons. And Volodymyr, the Putin, he's come out and said, right, lads, if you're going to bugger about with me, I'm not going to P. Diddy's parties. Hang on a second. Ernst Goldfinger, you're late, you tart. Evening all, he says. Just blown my heating allowance on a Ukraine escort. Thank you. I thought they had Zills or Ladas in Ukraine. Didn't realise they had escorts. Bet they want an RS Turbo version. Terry Wookfit says, and I know I'm being distracted by your comments, and I am going to get into the real meat of what we're talking about this evening, but Terry Wookfit says, his first job, being on a farm, is the closest thing to the truth Starmer has said. Starmer wasn't quite 100% truthful there. He should have said he gave his first blowjob in the field. Have you heard the Princess Diana story? You've just reminded me, Terry. So I'll tell you this, and then we'll get into what is going on in the world, because it's important. So I was, obviously, I've got sources. And can you remember when Diana's father, on the main news, like the 6 o'clock news at night, like a couple of days before the wedding to Charles, he said, oh yes, my daughter's a virgin. And I thought, bloody hell, this is on the main news at like 6 o'clock at night. He's saying my daughter's a virgin. Has he been on the fall? He's been on the sherry. He's definitely been on the cooking sherry. Otherwise, he's been sniffing the barmaid's apron. He's been doing something. But he randomly just came out and said, oh yes, my daughter's a virgin. And when somebody says something, I always think the opposite. So when Starmer's going, we're not communists, we're not Marxists, we're for the people, by the people, you just know he's not. You just know that man's not. And look, man, just check these out. He's got dead eyes. So, and the only other person I've ever seen with those kind of eyes, and this is no slur at all, because he was very generous of spirit with me, and he was a really nice guy. I played at a golf day in Nottingham, and Stuart Pearce, the ex-Nottingham Forest football player, I was standing chatting to him and his group as we left one green to go on a tee, and they were teeing off. And I've only ever seen eyes like Starmer's with young Stuart Pearce. You kind of look at them going, oi, 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 apex predator. So Starmer's eyes are dead. I'm telling you, they're evil. They're evil. They're dead. There's just nothing going on. Females for procreation, men for recreation. Who said that? You didn't see my lips move. Hayden, I saw that. It came up as Rod Stewart's called it a day. I mean, Shagger Stewart. He's been some swordsman in his time. But why he was going to tour America. Was it next year? So for him to call it a day, there's something going on. Andrew says Tony Blair has dead eyes also. I agree. Oh, it's really unnerving. But Starmer was being interviewed, and at one point he wasn't blinking. And I just thought, you're evil, mate. In my view, it's just my personal opinion. You're evil. And the fact that he takes no notice, but watch him when he's with President Whiffwaff. Because President of China is like, oh, who's this? Midget? Where's he from? Oh, this is the President of the United Kingdom. Ah, well, kind of shook his hand and wandered off. And Starmer was so uncomfortable, didn't know how to be. He's not a statesman. He's not. He's just a tool, because his dad was a tool maker. And President Whiffwaff just kind of, ooh, did I touch him? Ooh, give me a wet wipe. I need to wipe my hands. And then wandered off. And then cut to the next video. Dead Eyes is staring at President Whiffwaff across some massive table. And they've all got their lads, each side of the president. And Dead Eyes has got his mates. It's like a Hollywood musical. Sharks are cool, jets are hot. And Marley says he was too concerned with freeing the sausage. Be like chucking a chipolata up the Mersey Tunnel, from what I've been told. Anyway, let's get to serious stuff. Oh, exactly that. No notification. Evening all. You've missed the best bit. It's all downhill from here on in. So we're now at war with Russia. Let me tell you how. So basically what I'm going to tell you is how we're at war with Russia, what that means, who's done what, and then what it means for America. Because that's the important bit. You thought that Donald Trump was going to get into power. How way, man. Give your head a shake. They've tried to kill him off. They've tried to assassinate him. They've tried lawfare. They've tried the courts. They've tried every which way to stop this boy from getting into power. Because the military-industrial complex knows that they'll make no... Thank you, Ernst. They make no money. Ernst just pointed something out to me. Yeah, it's mine, and I'll clean it as vigorously as I want. The Diana story. So, And this is, it's kind of one of those apocryphal tales that most people will go, oh, no, 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 you're making that up. No, not at all. So Diana's dad, he went onto the evening news and went, yeah, my daughter's a virgin. And back in 1980, that was really shocking. It was for me. I wasn't that old. I was still a teenager. Just, you're wrongin'. And when he said that, I was like watching the telly and thinking, why would he say that? That's so. These rich people are supposed to be very gallant. They're supposed to be gentlemen and squires. And he's got a pile and a seat and probably a rubber ring if he's got loads of piles. But him saying, oh, my daughter's a virgin was just not acceptable language at tea time. But as Stuart says, how would he know that? Well, he didn't. Because they had to come out and make it sort of the fairy tale wedding. Because I'm sure that the future King of England would have to marry a virgin. Why? I've no idea. Maybe we're going back to Henry VIII in the 1500s. And so he came out with this. And I just, as I normally do, when something says something and it's like, it's random. It's the presence of the unusual in the usual. And he said that, and I thought, nah, that's bollocks. Nah. He's talking out of his arse. Honestly, why would he say that? Because he was told to. He was told to. And then a few years later, in my radio days, I met somebody who told me this story. And the story goes that that the young Lady Spencer, Lady Diana, daughter of the master, was, how can I say this delicately, a bit coquettish, and would flirt with the gentleman, or certain gentleman that would work on Lord Spencer's pile. Thing was, there was one of them. It was obviously some handsome divil, and the Lady Spencer, so Lady Diana, she went into the fields one day, the height of summer, and was flirting with this gentleman, and he basically said to her, "If you keep doing that, you'll feel the length of my unnecessariness." Must be proof of who's the daddy. Oh, she daddy now then. And she was like, ooh, all that malarkey, all the kind of flirtiness, and she was, I think, barely 16, so she was legal tender at that point. And he was like, keep doing that and you'll get it. You'll get it. And seemingly on a blistering hot day, on some in some field somewhere, she got it by this chap. And he loved a pint of a particular tincture, and he would go into the town, so to speak, the local town, the local village, and word got round that he'd diddled the master's daughter, and if you bought him a couple of pints, got him a bit squiffy, he would tell the story of how he deflowered the master's daughter. And then bugger me if it's not announced that she's marrying Charles Windsor. And then these blokes in suits and shades at night come into the village, and they're asking questions about this chap that works on the estate. And seemingly, these chaps with shades on at night tracked him down and had a quiet word. So then every time he went into every time he went into town, into the village, into the one pub in the village, and he came in, they were like, "Oh, here, go on, here's a couple of pints. Tell us that story about how you diddled the master's daughter." And he was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Yes, you do. You've told us loads. You know, in the field that day, hot sunny day, and she got it. And he was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And every time he went into the pub and they tried to get him a few pints just to tell the story, he would sup up and leave. So that's why, in whether the apocryphal tale is true or not, but in certain people's view, that's why Daddy, Lord Spencer, came out and said, "Yeah, my daughter's a virgin." I mean, it doesn't matter now, 40 years later, but that was the story. And I'd worked out that something was going on, but I couldn't work out what. And then I worked for Fayed, and obviously I found out loads more. So that's the Diana story. You're wrong. Don't know what you're talking about now. Somebody's wound Amalia up tonight. She's saying fake the system. Next thing, you'd be demonstrating with the farmers in London, Amalia. Anyone got Asperger's? It's Starmer. I thought that was a version a version of autism. Asperger's. I met Princess Diana at the Guards Depot in 1980. Lovely lady. Wasn't you, Super Ted, was it? I'm sure she was. Who was the captain of the England rugby team that she had the affair with, and according to his wife, broke their marriage up? Bum chin. I can see him. Anyway, do you want me to tell who was the Will Carling? Do you want me to tell you the Will Carling story that I know? And again, I've got this from a really, really, really good source. So Will Carling's out. He's in the middle of the affair with Diana, and which obviously everybody's denying she's dead, so no, she can't speak. But Will Carling was out on the beer, on the lash with the lads. And you know that the Royals have their own mail system. So if they write a letter to you, then somebody can hand deliver it. Whether this is true or not is open to speculation. But the next time I see Will Carling, I will ask him. So Will Carling's out with the lads on the lash, rugby boys, rugger buggers, and they were like, "No, you're not. No, you're not." He was like, I am. I'm, diddling Princess Diana, man. And eventually his wife found out, and that's why they divorced. And what he said was, they said, "Prove it. Prove it. Go on then, prove it. Otherwise, the beers are on you all night because you're telling us lies, pack of lies." And he said, "All right then." So anyway, goes on his, because he had mobile phones at this point in the 80s, on his mobile phone. And they said, "What you done?" He said, "I've asked her for something." He said, "What you asked her for?" He said, "I'm not telling you until it arrives." "What you asked her for?" He said, "It'll arrive. Let's just, drink up. It's going to be delivered." And they said, "What's going to be delivered?" He said, "What I've asked her for." And they said, "Here, shut up. What you asked her for?" He said, "I've asked her to trim some of her pubes and send them to me." And sure enough, Mr. Carling, thank you. This is for you. Gives him an envelope, opens the envelope, and sure enough, there's Diana's pubes in the envelope. She snips them off you go. Didn't put that in the bloody newspaper, did they? As I say, can you believe it? Stuart says, "I'm glad I'm finished my dinner." There is a gag there, Stuart. I'm not going to use it. So let's go to I'm not sure you want this to talk about war tonight. I think the congregation is in a lively manner this evening, but I do need to tell you this because there is a purpose to it. Oh, brilliant! Cuban Pete says it was a Merkin. Yeah, it could have been, but it was. He rang and said, send it, and it came via the Royal Post, and it was. Can you imagine the money you get for that now? Not newsworthy, wasn't in the pubic interest. Brilliant, Alan. So let's get serious. As Olivia Newton-John once said, Diana was as smooth as a baby's bottom. Of course, Terry, you had a look. Well, I'm just telling you the story because that's the story that was told to me by a very reputable source. As Ray says, yeah, there was a tampon gate. Charles wanted to be Camilla's tampon. Looks like it nowadays. The reason why I say that we are at war with Russia is that, as the Russians have said, there's only one country ever used nuclear weapons. But I'm hearing from my sources, and I know there's a few ex-military, there's a few people on this particular live that have extremely reliable knowledge of certain things. Russia are going to use, I'll term them like this because I don't know the full word for them because I'm not ex-military. Russia will use thermobombs on Kiev. As a little aside, I've no idea why they're now calling it Kyiv. It's always Kiev. And now they're spelling it differently? What's that? Is it true only the king can declare war? Didn't Churchill declare that we were at war with Germany? Terry says Kyiv is how the Ukrainians pronounce it. Well, they're all over here, so in English it's Kiev, so they can start pronouncing it Kiev. So what I'm hearing is the Russians are not going to loose off nuclear bombs straight away, but they are going to use thermobombs on Kiev, unless, of course, the Donald has stepped in. But there's no... The left-wing media, the legacy media, won't tell us what actually the truth is. In Ireland, it's Kiev as well. Thank you, Stuart. Alan, no, that was Neville Chamberlain. Oh, well, did he come back waving his bit of paper going, we're all right, lads, the Germans are not going to invade? But I understand that there's Greece, possibly Turkey. I saw this fleetingly at some point today, where there's 4 countries have recalled their ambassador from the Kiev Peace in Our Time. Thank you, Hayden. They've recalled their ambassadors from Kiev. Now, hang on a second. I thought, and I'm not the brightest, so you'd have to tell me, I thought that Ukraine was at war with Russia. So why would you leave your ambassador in Kiev that's having the shite bombed out of it by the Russians? You just wouldn't, would you? You'd recall them. But they've recalled them today because obviously they're worried that Russia's going to bomb the hell out of Kiev. So I want to know, and this kind of, again, trips off the tongue quite readily, who gave the British the order to give the Ukrainian... to give Ukraine and the Ukrainians the capability and our military firepower to them? Who was it? Who gave the order? Was it the generals and the majors? The head of the army? Was it the king? Was it Sunak? No, Poopy Pants is, I can't remember the acronym for the missiles that America have said, oh, yeah, just use these. Well, hang on, how did they get them across there then? I mean, the US are saying you can use these, but they would have to send them across there, surely. Is it NATO? Dead Eyes Starmer has been out of the game. He's been at the G20 in Brazil, so he wouldn't know what was going on in Ukraine. So who gave the order to supply the missiles to Ukraine to use them against the Russians? British. I mean, what the? I thought I'd written them down, because they're Storm Shadow missiles. That's what they're called. Storm Shadow missiles. Who gave the order? Because you and I know that the industrial military complex war is very profitable, especially for the Americans, who are 36 and odd trillion dollars in debt. So a nice everlasting war, a forever war, would turn, mind you, it wouldn't turn the American economy around, because all the politicians would be trousering, shed loads of money. That was it. Thank you, Terry. Ukraine already has ATACMS and Storm Shadow. However, their troops aren't tech enough to launch them. US, UK and French troops are keying in the authorization codes. Yes, I know. But it was the supply of those Storm Shadow and ATACMS missiles from America. And it's the Americans that would obviously key all the necessary into the tech for the Ukrainians to be able to use them. And the Brits would obviously send our military across there to key in all the tech so that they could use them. And from what I can gather, the Americans are saying, no, it's not us, because it's Joe Biden's birthday today. Anybody bought them an ice cream? It's Joe Biden's birthday today. How old is he? I think he's about 175 or something. Mind you, he wouldn't remember. So the Brits have gone across and helped the Ukrainians. This is in my view, I don't have anything to substantiate this, but it will come out in the newspapers tomorrow, because when we do these lives, we're ahead of the game with the legacy media. They obviously watch this. And you've got a situation where, according to Alex Jones, who I was listening to just before I came on live, he was saying that there's between 12 and 20 Storm Shadow, or Shadow Storm, hang on, let me just get this right. Storm Shadow missiles have been loosed off against Russia. Now, I don't know what kind of destructive forces that these missiles have, but it's almost as if we're holding our breath now, because we don't know what retaliation is going to come from the Russians. We don't even know that these missiles genuinely have been fired at the Russians, and how much they cost, and where they're getting the money from. Biden wandered off in the wilderness. Brilliant. Zelensky's just been given another $270 million in aid. What, from us? I know that everybody, and I've asked this question before, I know that we're giving them £3 billion a year, and that would stop the 22 billion black hole. But let me tell you, this will be in the papers tomorrow. The British public will be called up to fight if the UK goes to war, because our military is too small. It was, I don't know, about 120 odd, 130 odd thousand, and not all of those soldiers. That would be the support, the logistics. But our army's too small. And NATO, if they blame NATO, and remember, there's been this sort of NATO mission creep going on for decades, and they've been warned, and we get to the 90s, and a deal was done between Russia and Germany, and Russia said to Germany, you can have unification, but not 1 inch for NATO. So Russia are dead set against NATO and mission creep to include Ukraine in NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Russians, for decades and decades and decades, have been saying, no more NATO anywhere near Russia. Subsequent Russian presidents. Brilliant, Ray. Watch out. All men will identify as women. And then they'll change the law and have women on the front line, which I think they already have. So Ukraine isn't just firing British-built and supplied missiles into Russia. Our military is helping them do that. But Russia, since World War II, have said no more NATO. So if the British military is programming these missiles for the Ukrainians, as it appears they are, then it's the UK that is firing these missiles into Russia. Because although the Ukrainians have the missiles, they don't have the capability or the codes or the tech to be able to do it. Viv Kenyon. Hit the likes, Romans. 209 watching, 76 likes. Oof, tough audience. So the NATO's country, it appears that NATO, and remember, America spends a ton of money on NATO, and the Donald has said when he gets into power, he's going to be saying to NATO, we're not going to give you any more money. No more money. Because he knows how to stop the war immediately. And he said one of the first things, day one, he's going to stop the Ukraine-Russia war. Putin has said he would be happy to broker a peace deal. Zelensky, Sniffy, has said, we're happy to stop the war. Now, that's in the legacy media. That's in the newspapers. And I've told you over the last 3 or 4 months, it's been a regular theme, a regular narrative that both Ukraine and Russia wanted to stop the war. Shadow Storm missiles are Broach, Bomb, Royal Ordnance Augmented Charge, warhead capable of penetrating hardened targets, even 5-day-old Battenberg. It's all about the penetration. But then I thought, hang on a second. When the Donald was elected, and I said elect the Donald, save the world, because Camel Toe was going to take us into a nuclear war. I was as nervous as you, thinking, would they? Who would benefit from that? Well, they're psychopaths. They don't care. They literally don't care. They don't care whether you live or die. Don't care whether this country lasts. And Putin's already said, look, the nuclear protocols, if it kicks off, or the range for these missiles is 155 miles, though export versions may have reduced ranges to comply with international arms treaties. That's exactly it. Terry Wookford says, we sent Storm Shadow to Ukraine in April or May last year, 2023. Storm Shadow has 2 modes, long and short range. So it looks like the Ukrainians have got whatever they need to really noise up the Russians. But as I say, there have been at least over the last 2 or 3 months, 6 occasions where Putin has said, I'm happy to broker a peace deal. We keep Crimea, you can have pretty much most of the rest. BlackRock's already got 47% of the land in Ukraine. And you know why, don't you? Tell you in a second. So you've got Putin, so long as he gets the gas and the oil under the Black Sea, which is where sort of Ukraine is in the sort of northwest part of the Black Sea, and Russia is the north to northeast part of the Black Sea. Crimea's slap bang, I don't know why I'm doing that because you can't say slap bang, in the middle of Russia and Ukraine. And this 1,000-day war, they're lying out of their hairy backsides. It's not a 1,000-day war. This kicked off in 2014. Or did they take a break for lockdown and Charlie 19? I doubt it. But this has been going on since 2014. And Russia's had Crimea for donkey's years. Russia's not going to give that up. That's access to the gas and the oil. The energy independence that Russia is. And was it France or Germany that Russia went, oh, here, if you're going to kick off, we're not interested, you're not getting any more gas. So Russia's got France and Germany and Europe, for that matter, by the short and curlies. So I thought, hang on, Where's brown trousers? He was supposed to be at the G20 and he was late. Very late. So he couldn't have his picture taken with the rest of the G20. So it was G19. But President Brown Trousers and Barry Soetoro, I was thinking, hang on, where are these people? Because you don't see them. You should have done. Should have had. You should have had President Brown Trousers at the G20, but seemingly he was negotiating with somebody else, and it was Canada, I think, and it wasn't going down very well. So I don't know why. He's just a figurehead now, President Brown Trousers. He's just a figurehead. He's not going to do anything because the proper president is being inaugurated in 9 weeks. Who benefits from this? Well, that's very easy to see. What's Agenda 2030? I hear bandied about. It's net zero. It's everything. It's control. It's the one world government by 2030. There's Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. It's all around control, the control of the masses. But I thought, hang on a second, where's Brown Trousers? But more importantly, where's his handler, Barry Soetoro, and Big Mike? Where are they? Because the minute that Camel Toe didn't make president, they kind of scuttled away. Do you not think that? They scuttled away. Don't know where they went, but they scuttled away. Thank you, Stephen. And then all of a sudden, Barry Soetoro's come out today and gone, oh, I wish my friend, President Biden, happy birthday. And here's some new brown trousers. But not only that, and this was reported today. Remember I told you about, well, we can go back to Diana if you wish. Princess Diana was getting involved in well, she was anti-land mines and had a campaign of, people that had lost limbs standing and stepping on landmines, and she was trying to stop it all. So Biden, as in President Brown Trousers, he's made a decision, must have been yesterday because it was reported today, to provide anti-personnel mines to Ukraine. Now, hang on a second. If you know, because the Donald has come out and said multiple times, we're going to stop the wars. Yeah, well, he hasn't come out and said we're going to stop what's going on in Gaza. But we are going to stop the wars around the world. We've had enough. We're not going to give you our money anymore, apart from Israel. We're not going to give you our money anymore. And Ukraine and Russia, you can stop that, the pair of you. I'm coming out there and I'll sort it out. Because you know why? He's a construction guy. And this is why they want to have wars. Because if you look at Iraq, when we went into, the Allies went into Iraq, the first thing they did was secure the oil fields. Now, why would they do that? Surely the first thing they would do is capture Saddam Hussein and have a serious word in his shell like. No, they went into northern Iraq and secured all the oil fields. That's the Americans. And the Americans wouldn't let the Brits or anybody else touch the oil fields. No, lads, you can, just send your troops to die and we'll look after all the oil in the north. You couldn't make it up. Ask anybody who served in Iraq. The Americans were in the north, not getting slaughtered by the Taliban, etc., etc. No. So then you've got Poopy Pants going, right, lads, look, Permaweave is Mr. Orange. He's going to be president from January 20th. Right. Who said that? Andrew James, R.I.P. Dr. Kelly. I know, Andrew. That's never ever going to come out. So if you're only like 8 weeks away from, technically, although he is President Brown Trousers, he's not president of America, really. The Donald is getting all of his team together. So why would he, oh, sorry, my fingers did something really weird there. Why would he be saying, right, lads, well, you can have anti-personnel landmines. Don't worry, because they're going to sell them the landmines, and then when Donald gets in 8 weeks, they'll have planted them all, and they'll say, right, war's over. Would you like us to come in and get rid of them? We know exactly where we've planted them for you, and your military, just keep an eye on them and note where you've planted them, and we'll take care of everything else. They get double bubble. Sell them, and then retrieve them. Paulie, yeah, Robin Cook was. But Robin Cook had one job, and that was to get the Treaty of Rome in place, which seemingly Charles Linton, Anthony Charles Linton Blair, just Google Charles Linton, Bow Street Magistrates. Do your own research. You might put hairs on your chest. And the only job that Tony Blair had after he got in 97 was to absolutely get us so far into Europe we could never get out. And Robin Cook and Tony Blair signed the Treaties of Nice. Treaties of Nice. Not as in plural, the Treaties of Nice and Rome. Tony Blair, one of the most evil men to ever become a politician. Rich, he had a cottage for sale. Oh, yeah, terrible man, Rich. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you. So we have a situation now where President Brown Trousers, he's made a decision to provide anti-personnel mines to the Ukraine and allow the use of long-range missiles on Russian territory comes as the Russian military is accelerating its gains along the front line. Data from the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, shows that Russia has gained almost 6 times as much territory in 2024 as it did in 2023 and is advancing towards key Ukrainian logistical hubs in the eastern Donbass region. That's from the BBC. So Ukraine fires UK-made Storm Shadow missiles into Russia for the first time. Do you think that Deadeye's Starmer would get a bit of a shock? A bit like, oh, just had the willies put up, mate. Would he get a shock if we all decided to go, no, mate, Deadeyes, you're on your Todd. You can send your kids out there. They'll go first. If they're not going to fight, neither are we. Oh, but he's going to university. Don't fucking care. Your kids first, not ours. But do you think he would... do you think he would get a bit of a... So this is what I can't work out. Right-wing Ukraine, supported by left-wing Labour, to the tune of $3 billion a year. So Labour is supporting a right-wing fascist government. And I use the word fascist loosely because it's like you don't have to be red or blue. You don't have to be left or right or up or down or in or out. Fascists are fascists. They don't have brown shirts all the time. They're not necessarily right-wing thugs, although I'm sure Deadeye's Starmer invented that little beauty. So Labour is helping a right-wing fascist government fight a left-wing communist Russia. Can somebody help me out? Because it's proper fried my noodle. You would think that Deadeye Starmer and the left would support Russia because the Russia's communist. Ukraine's not communist, although they have tried to say, no, it's Putin. It's Putin. He started the fight. He picked on me. No. Yeah, me wife needs another Bugatti from Paris, man. Give us another billion. So who are we backing? Are we backing a right-wing militia against a left-wing country and Labour's left wing? So what does this mean to America? What this means to America Oh, happy birthday, brown trousers, by the way. So President Shitty Pants is going to be taken out. Possibly a heart attack. You can see it coming. He's not got long. They'll take him to an ice cream parlour and go, here, Shitty Pants, come here. We have the military technology to induce heart attacks. They do, by the way, before you ask. You know what that means, don't you? The camel toe steps up to be president with the button and nuclear warheads. So President Brown Trousers cops it, heart attack, oh dear, how sad, never mind. And then Vice President Camel Toe becomes President Camel Toe, and you know what that means, don't you? She's a wartime president. You know what that means, don't you? The Donald doesn't get into the presidency because she's a wartime president, and she'll stay as wartime president for as long as the war goes on, and if it's a forever war, then she's forever the president. Easy. It's not like a game of chess or anything. I know the Donald is pretty good at 5D chess, but they're just going to hijack the presidency. That's why they were all lovely and cuddly and warm after the Donald won. That's why they kind of gave up and really didn't push things to win the presidential election. They knew they couldn't, because they knew that the Donald had worked them out and was playing the same game of chess that they were. And there's two-tier, the granny harmer, jack of all trades, master of, well, thank you, Peter. Me dad was a toolmaker. And then my first job was on a farm. I hope it wasn't bloody Princess Diana's farm. And now, are we ever going to see Trump 2.0? I hope we do. But this is all because eventually they're going to do away with politics. They're going to do away with politics. They're going to have a one world government run by the banks. And political allegiance is not going to matter. You're just going to do as you're told. Otherwise, you'd be marched out and shot in the head and just chucked in some ditch somewhere. Did that in Northern Ireland. Oh. Do your research. So that's the war, darling. That's what it's meant to do. This is not about, well, it is about money, because that's why America is a busted flush. It's done. It's finished. It's over. It's bankrupt. And China owns a shit ton of America's debt. If China ever calls the debt in from America, America's going to go under. They can print as many dollars as they want. The dollar's going to go. Because the BRICS countries are negotiating all kinds of bits and pieces. And you know how corrupt politics and politicians are. They don't care. So long as they can have their 3 generations of wealth, and it's generational wealth and family wealth and power, they don't care. Because a load of these Labour Party politicians didn't have a pot to pee in. And suddenly they're having all this power and having all this money. Oh, they're going to want that forever. Can you imagine? Starmer the Harmer, Deadeye Starmer, becomes a wartime prime minister and stays wartime prime minister until the war finishes. Be like, well, he wouldn't be Winston Churchill. He's not good enough to lace his boots. But he could be, a forever war prime minister for the next 50 years. They want it forever. They want it forever, and they will only stop it when they know they can make money. Like Halliburton when they went into Iraq. Halliburton went into Iraq and made billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars. Because remember, 2 days before 9/11, Donald Rumsfeld stood up and went, lads, we're missing $2 trillion. And everybody went, what? How do you misplace $2 trillion? Like the CIA gave the Wagner Group $6.2 billion to get rid of Putin. And then Wagner's chasing Putin. Putin disappears. And then the head of, chief exec of the Wagner Group also disappears with $6.2 billion. Nice work if you can get it. $3 billion each. Brilliant. So America is a busted flush unless the Donald actually is inaugurated into the presidency. Because if he's not, and it's a forever war, we're all done. We're all finished. And Putin, if he's really, really, really been sniffing a barmaid's apron and he's not very happy with either America or this dead-eye Starmer, you know what he's going to do? Here, have some of that. Russia has the most nuclear warheads in the world ever. They're armed up to the eyeballs, up to the teeth, and they're energy independent for flogging gas and oil. Out of the Caspian Sea, out of the Black Sea, out of Siberia, out of all these different places. It's all been negotiated because Putin is nobody's fuel. Well, Freudian. So let's get on to some other bits and pieces because we've spent enough time. You now know exactly what the war's about and what the outcome will be. They're going to get rid of President Brown Trousers with a heart attack, in my view. And look, I wish all the American politicians, including President Poopy Pants and Camel Toe and the Donald, I wish them all well, good health and long lives. But we know that the Democrats are evil. It's not about left or right politics. Oh, so they want to give you the illusion, democracy, the illusion of choice in America. Don't be silly. Look at what they did in 2020. There's like 15 million votes gone missing and they don't know how. So let's have a quick look at some of the other stuff that's going on. You know that Zoe Ball is not my favourite broadcaster. I've told you before. Her sucking air through her teeth grinds my gears. I think it's ineptitude, in my view. I've studied radio presentation for 40 odd years, since my hospital radio days. I've studied it and studied it and studied it. And that's why I sacked her. But now she's standing down. She's going to do a last show in December. How bad are her listening figures now? How bad are they? Because she knows. She will know that if they're on a downward trajectory, she could kill Radio 2. So she's saying that, and it's an awful thing to go through. Loss of a parent, loss of a partner, a lover. So she's saying, look, I've had enough. I've had enough. My mum's died and my partner's died. But can you smell that? Bullshit. Because these kind of individuals work long and hard hours to get to the top of the food chain. She's always wanted to have, in my view, as I say, this comes from 40 years experience in commercial and BBC radio. I'm telling you, she always wanted to be at the top of the food chain. She's at the top of the food chain on nearly £1 million a year with the BBC. And she says, oh, it's been a bit much. Now, I know that Gen Z, she's not Gen Z, but I know that Gen Z have got no backbone. They've literally got no backbone. It's entitlement personified. They're all Nepo babies, and they're weak. Weak. I tell you what, please allow me. I'll do it for free. I won't. I'll even pay you. Let me see the look on their faces when they are told they're going to have to fight in a world war. There's your gun. There's your uniform. We'll give you 6 weeks basic, and then you're off to the front line. We're asking Nepo babies to defend this sceptred isle. Honestly, they'll make President Brown trousers look like he's just farted once. We all know it's weed and PlayStation. We all know they're having to live their entirety through recreational gear. They don't get life because they're entitled. So they think that everything's got to be. Have you seen this character on, is it G.K. Barry? Holy Jesus. Is that what our society's been producing? I mean, look, they're kids, they're bairns. I would lay this at the door of these idiots that have been allowed to procreate. Oh, darling, let mummy make it better for you. No. Don't, like a lot of people will go, oh, money, 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 money. Don't give them bloody money. Teach them what you weren't taught as a kid. That's much more valuable than being able to buy a bag of this and a bag of that and then play PlayStation all night. Kids having kids having kids. Thank you for that. Who was that? And Jackie Glansky says, my granddaughter, pot noodles, Splatoon. Never mind Splatoon. I'm surprised she's not pebble dashing the house. What about Bonnie Blue? Oh, dear Lord, don't, Rich. Don't. She was bragging today that she's had a father and son. So daddy and son went and arranged to go around and knock her neck out. And she was like, oh, yeah, it was wonderful. I had a daddy and a son at the same time. Holy Jesus. I mean, where's the morals on this? Oh, well, I know she ain't got any. But it's, I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine the rooting she's had over the last couple of months by all the thousands of blokes? I mean, her body count is through the roof. And do you think there's a man on planet Earth that's going to go, oh, she's a lovely girl? Touchy toes, Bonnie. Toy Dolls did Razzmatazz theme tune. Newty Brown. So I literally cannot grasp I know these kids have not been given life skills. They've not been given life tools because life is very different from when I grew up. And I know suddenly I'm sounding like I'm me dad and my granddad. One like that in my day. I know, but we've been so bloody soft on them. It's exactly that. Today's contraception, abortion. Yeah. I know loads of women in Sunderland that did that. But this look, I don't wish ill on anyone. But we have to look at, so parents are now saying, well, the government can look after our kids. We've got propaganda in schools where they're saying certain things are acceptable when they're not. And the mutilation and the puberty blockers that other people are making decisions on. And the parents of these kids can't make the decisions because they're not the brightest, bless them, but they've procreated. So, and some of them are, I think they'd rather get into recreational gear than actually parenting their children. Now, I'm very lucky. I haven't had any. And I decided not to from a very young age. Because what I was involved in, the cycle of abuse that I was involved in, it was stopping with me. And I decided that at 5-year-old. So I've watched these. I mean, there's some great parents around. I couldn't parent today's Gen Z or Gen A for all the tea in China. As Alan says, it's plain to see the country's become degenerate over the last 40 years. Fuck me. Sorry, potty mouth just comes out. Terry Wookfit said, today is Transgender Day of Remembrance, apparently. They never had any transgender in World War II or World War I. I mean, Look, it was a comedy routine, but it was yeah. I wear women's clothes on a weekend, and even up until the 80s, that was like if you came out as a man and said, "Yeah, I like to wear women's clothes," people were like, "Whoa, hang on, what?" And then I want to be a woman. Now, forgive my conditioning from the northeast of England, Sunderland in particular. If somebody had said to me, "I want to be a woman," I'd be like, "Mate, just have a beer. What do you want your schmeckle chopped off? Go home to the wife and tell her you've been shagging her sister. She'll do it for free." And then the mutilation of women. I mean, and then men in women's sports. It's not something growing up in Sunderland that I would ever envision or have envisioned for that matter. Amalia says I like to wear women's clothes. So pleased to hear that, Amalia. I don't. I mean, A, I haven't got the legs. They're far too hairy. And then it's like, there are accoutrements that come with being a man. How would I tuck them away? I mean, I wouldn't want a John Wayne Bobbitt for any stretch of the imagination. Now, look, I know that we're humankind and we should always be kind to others, but not when it's propaganda. Not when, if you don't agree with them, they're either going to get violent with you, or they're going to come at you, or they're going to do something to you because you have to kowtow to their agenda. Fuck off. Live as far as I'm concerned, but the minute you start shoving it down my throat, it's either A, coming off, or you're going to be sparked out. I don't care. I really don't care. And at the beginning of this live, I said, we need to have some hope, because if we haven't got any hope, the thing that we need hope around is that humankind is kindness. That we can, and I'm not turning it to John Lennon and singing Imagine, but why do we have to go to war other than to make the military-industrial complex rich or wealthier? No. I was going to ask you some questions tonight. One of them was going to be, well, maybe we can take a little breather for a moment, because it's been quite weighty and quite heavy, and we kind of see what's going on. We know what's going on. You don't have to be Einstein. I'm going to lose that, you Roman. Rich one. No, this is different. Tonight I'm going to ask you a different question, because I was having a moment yesterday, and I thought, ooh, I'm going to ask that, because I've got a fairly... Who said 3? You're wrong. And no, stop it. I've got an extensive record book collection, and I mean they're worthless. But I've read them all. What would you say is the best book you've ever read? The Bible is excluded. You can't use that. You can't use any religious book or sacred book. Which book would you say is the best book you've ever read? And you have to have read it all. Because I was thinking to myself, which would I go down the esoteric route? Would I go down... I don't read fiction. Don't read fiction at all. But I know that this audience is particularly intelligent and very well, very erudite. So I know that you will have read a very wide spectrum of books. And I was just curious as to what would be your favourite. Lauren Taylor says To Kill a Mockingbird. Oh, interesting. I studied that for my... Well, I didn't study it. I was told to read it for my English exam and didn't. Terry Wookford, 1984. The Trill by Kafka. Gulag, Archipelago. Solzhenitsyn. Oh, and 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, wrong, and Terry. Alan says The Merchant of Venice was pretty good. William Shakespeare. Yeah, I was supposed to do that for my English exam as well. Didn't read that either. But obviously being in Venice recently, The Merchant was very much to the fore. So Alan Little, Janet and John go to the seaside. Well, we get your level, Alan. Nikki Watson, Iceman, about an American serial killer. Ooh. Wim Hof is my Iceman. His breathworks are incredible. Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, Vic's text, I've read that. Beautiful. Has had a profound meaning for me. So out of all my books that I've got, all the different styles of books and all the different knowledge books, one of this book kept me in programming material on a late night phone-in or the BBC for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So my vote would be The Da Vinci Code. Ooh, Kaz, Requiem for a Dream. James Herbert's Rats. Thank you, Kaz P. Andy Turner, Playboy Hardback. Easily wiped down, Andy. Kaz P. The film. Z for Zachariah, Michelle D. Paulie Gallieri, The Bible is Bollocks. Who was that written by? Paulie, you're wrong. But see what a diverse choice. Da Vinci Code is complete and utter shite. It might be, Terry, but it was very clever. Complete and utter shite. And because I'm not a fan of the kiddie fiddlers in Rome, I'm just not a fan at all. And the fact that, yes, some of it was shoehorned, some of it was a bit hackneyed, some of it, but it kind of, as I say, for weeks and weeks and weeks, as I was reading it, there was new stuff coming in the chapters, and I would kind of use it on air, and I had some really deep and profound conversations with folk just around not necessarily the sacred writings, but just around the philosophy and the theosophy of things that I was able to talk about, which I loved. Rob from Down Under, but now on top, How to Be Rick in the UK. It's a small book. Ooh. Operation Paperclip in the Field. Oi. Hang on, which one was that? Operation Paperclip. Was that some of the war stuff that they buried? There was also a book that I read called Grey Wolf about Hitler getting out of Germany, still alive, via the Catholic Church. Or did he? No. In Grey Wolf, he got out via a submarine into South America and died of old age in South America. But the Catholics in Rome, they got a ton of the Germans out of Germany into South America. You see, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Catholic Church because of what they've done. The ruination of our children and the fact the most evil entity in recent memory, the Nazis, they helped get the Germans out of Germany into South America. Oi. But if you've never read Grey Wolf, Stuart, read it. It just poof. Behold a Pale Horse. Blimey, Sunflower, who's that by? Because it's a bit like when we get into music. Some people have mentioned some songs that I might not know too much about. I always go and have a listen to them and think, oh, right, okay, I get it now. Get it. Who was that by? Sunflower. Behold a Pale Horse. Stuart says, don't have the stomach to hear about the church. I don't want to know. Vic's text. The Rat Line, is that similar to Grey Wolf? Vic's text. Terry Wookford. Tony Blair was so impressed by the Roman Catholics, he became one. I know, you're not allowed to be a Roman Catholic or a Jew if you're Prime Minister. So If it walks like a duck, waddles like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So, Deadeye Starmer is married to a Jew. His children are Jewish. Has he converted? Because in Judaism, if you convert to Judaism, you're seen as more Jewish than the Jews. And the Roman Catholics, you're not allowed to be Prime Minister if you're Roman Catholic. Oh, hang on a second. So that's one Labour leader. And then you get another Labour leader who is, his wife's Roman Catholic, his kids are Roman Catholic. He goes and meets the Pope because he's Roman Catholic, the Pope. Didn't realise you knew that. Big text, getting the Nazis out of Europe. Yeah, the rat line then was via the Roman Catholic Church in Italy. Because obviously Hitler and Mussolini were best pals until they hung Mussolini from a lamppost. Sunflower. Bill Cooper rode Behold a Pale Horse. Bill Cooper, as in the Bill Cooper who was, super intelligent around esotericism, about symbology, about... Is that the right Bill Cooper that I'm thinking about? Starmer would convert to Kentucky Fried Chicken if he got free chicken. That is absolutely spot on, Kaz P. Spot on. A state of fear. How government weaponized fear during Charlie 19. Ooh. The ragged trousered philanthropist. Have I got that? I think it's on my reading list somewhere. Papillon. Papillon. Was that the film, Amalia? Was brilliant. Papillon, butterfly. In is it French? Papillon. Terry Wookfit, extraterrestrial Cooper. That's the boy. Bill Cooper was... David Icke did a lot of research around Bill Cooper. Used a lot of his material. Bill Cooper was ex-US intelligence. Was he? I mean, I've got some of his videos. I'm aware of him. And it's interesting that sort of 30 years ago in the 90s, when I would have been into him and first discovered him, it didn't really land. So it didn't pique my interest. But 20 odd years later, it's like, oh, that boy knew stuff. Absolutely knew stuff. The Asimov trilogy. What's that about, Des? Is Keir, Rodney, Abraham, Aaron, Levy, Starmer really Jewish? Very good. Well, we don't know. He might stop being Prime Minister, but you can't be Prime Minister if you're Jewish. And you can't be Prime Minister if you're Roman Catholic. Which is interesting. Didn't stop Hindu. But Roman Catholic and or Jewish? What's that about? Why would your religion stop you from being Prime Minister? I mean, lack of personality and lack of care and attention for the people of this sceptred isle. That's enough to stop you from... somebody somewhere... So Starmer stood for leader of the Labour Party, and the Labour Party obviously decided, oh, he seems like a nice man. How evil and toxic must the Labour Party be for them to decide that Deadeye Starmer seems to be a nice guy? Let him lead. Alan Little, he wasn't at the Tottenham match, was he? No, Arsenal. But Arsenal's quite Jewish. I mean, a lot of the London clubs are. Spurs never play on Shabbat and never play on a Saturday. P.T. Ham, oh yes, Peter and Jane books. Ray Norton, George Orwell's 84, read it, watched the film, now living it. Actually, that's the best poster of the night, Ray. Where's Des gone? Foundation, and Empire. Second Foundation, Sci-Fi, Civilizations. Ooh, I say. Starmer makes Corbyn look nice, and Corbyn's asking for peace in Ukraine. So it takes us back to the beginning. I'm not going to do G20. I was going to mention Clarkson and the Farmer. So thank you for all of your nominations for your favourite book. It looks like I've got a highly intelligent audience that's very well read. And I will check some of them out because I do love a good book. Read about 40 a year at this rate. So I think, isn't it something like for a doctorate, you need to read 40 books. And if you can read more than that, you're literally studying for a doctorate every year. I was going to talk about Liam Payne. Front page of the Daily Mirror this morning. oh, Liam and the boys together one last time. I think the point that they've missed out is, yeah, the boys will be together for one last time, but one of them is stiff in a box. Is he going to get out and do an encore? Not to be facetious, but hey, kiddies, don't do recreational gear. They still haven't worked out what's happened to him. I mean, I know he's left a lot of friends and family, and I don't mean to add to their woes, but stay away from recreational gear, kiddies. It won't end well. And it's interesting how they're all hand-wringing and all this, that, and the other, and he was lovely, and oh, we've let him down. Yeah, you weren't around when he was doing gear, when seemingly 3 people have been arrested in Brazil. Was it Brazil or Argentina? Brazil. And how did he get the gear? Seemingly there was rolled up tin foil, so he was smoking whatever he was doing. Thank you, Rich. I was going to talk about, I'm a cynical old tart. You know that by now. But when Jeremy Clarkson is leading up a demo in London of 20,000 farmers, I just sat there thinking, this is not about the farmers. Soul Rebel, first time here, subbed, interesting show. Thank you, Soul Rebel. And as we do with all of the newbies, we pop their cherry live on the live. It felt appropriate. So Jeremy Clarkson is leading the farmers, and the only thing this cynical old tart could think was, this is not about the farmers. This is about Jeremy Clarkson. All of it. All of it. Nothing else. Even that he was just wandering around with like a blackboard with a bit of chalk writing on it, going hashtag oh bagger. And you just think, I mean, I get Clarkson, he's a smooth operator, he's a clever operator, but he's so far up the elite's arse, him and bloody Piers Morgan going out with the Queen Consort, going out for lunch. What would that be about then? So Clarkson is leading the farmers, and he's only got a farm, what, tax relief? But it's now become all about Jeremy Clarkson. The farmers, oh, this is showbiz, darling. Don't you worry. I'll take all of the column inches and all of the TV interviews, and it's all about bloody Jeremy Clarkson. So forgive me for being cynical. I support the farmers wholeheartedly, because us on this live on a Sunday and a Wednesday at 8 o'clock, we've been watching the farmers in Holland, in France, in Germany, in Spain. We've been watching all of the farmers in Europe do exactly the same thing. They all marched because they were being shafted by their governments. And we know why. Oh, well, look, if you have inheritance tax, why don't you just sell off some of your land? Off! No, because it'll be Bill Gates that's buying all the bloody land up. Ray Norton says, Bill Gates chit-chat with Starmer about buying land. Yeah, whose land? The farmer's land. And if we have no farmers, we have no food, because then we have to import it. And remember, I don't know whether you were awake at this point, but at the back end of the 90s, when was Mad Cow? Was it 2000? 99, 2000? So Mad Cow, what they were trying to do was kill off the beef industry, which is worth, at that point, 20 years ago, was worth £8 billion a year. They were trying to kill off all of the beef industry so that somewhere in Europe, possibly Poland, they would start and grow all the beef for Europe. And do you know something else? These snake oil sellers, Starmer and the like, but and the Tories and any other politician or political party that gets into power, you do know that the beef you put on your plate can be reared in any European country, but so long as it's butchered in this country, in this sceptred isle, it's marked as British beef. So it's only if it's been butchered in this country will it get the British beef standard. If it's been raised and grown and grazed in France or Germany or Poland or anywhere else, it will still be marked British beef if it's been slaughtered and butchered in this country. I'm telling you, these snake oil sellers, they're as slippery as. Bet you didn't know that. Always buy a red tractor. Rich, that may be so. But the British beef and or red tractor, does red tractor mean that it's been born, raised, reared, and then butchered in this country? Yeah, it's all an illusion, all of it. Right, okay, I'll keep my eye open for that. Thank you, Rich. But I do know that back in the day, Tony Blair, he'd only been in 18 months, 2 years, when Mad Cow kicked off. If I can remember, Spongiform Encephalopoulos, I think. But it came out that they were trying to, the CIA call us conspiracy theorists. I've been at this malarkey for 40 years, so I can remember a lot of stuff that back in the day they didn't want us to know. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, CJD, mad cow. I remember my mum telling my sister where meat comes from. She was traumatised and cried for about an hour. What kind of meat did she tell her? The Bovril, France had mad cow too, but it was covered up. Bovine spongiform encephalopathy produces CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. How did I get there? What was I talking about there? I've obviously gone off on a tangent far too deep. What happens to animals? Yes. So the farmers, that's where I was. Clarkson, farmers, Europe, Spain, Holland, Germany, France. All the farmers are kicking off because they're being treated like our farmers. And you've got to remember, they have to get the farmers on their knees so the farmers will do as they're told. If they... Bill Gates has been the richest man in the world for a long time, until Elon Musk and a couple of others. Even Warren Buffett, he's richer than him at one point. Snake venom amnesia shots sold abroad. Bloody hell, who's that? MZK. It's like the illegal immigrants. They count the male heads coming in. This was the Tony Blair government. Do you trust him? No, me neither. Not as far as I can spit him, in my view. But they would count the male heads, the wife, female heads, the mother, and the kids going out. So they'll count one coming in and count 4 or 5 going out just to manipulate the stats. I'm not going to eat an illegal immigrant. Well, not in one sitting, says Terry Wookfit. So that's what I was talking about. So the farmers are being shafted, and they're being shafted on purpose. Now, you've got to remember that Starmer isn't the decision maker. He's having his strings pulled. That's why his eyes are dead, because he's got handlers. He's got people that are telling him what to do. He's been to the WEF, the World Economic Forum. He's one of their puppets. So's Angela Rayner. They've all been to WEF. And remember, what's the easiest delivery mechanism to get somebody to do your bidding? Simple. Put it in a book. Oh, well, I never. Klaus Schwab. Wonder what he's done. He write books about it. Just hand the books out. Yeah, right. It's all in there. Starmer hasn't got an original idea in his head. Frey bent us some more pastry, more pasty than meat now. Who said that? Paulie. Food, glorious food, roast, crickets and plant meat. I mean, look, growing up, I said this to you before, we weren't well off at all. Grew up on a council estate, no money. Father pissed it away in the local workmen's club. Nice guy. Well, he's a cunt, but nice guy. And on a Sunday, my mum would try and make sure that we had a roast dinner. So it would be protein of some kind, whether it be beef or chicken or pork or and vegetables. And do you know something? The best thing that I have, beef dripping sarnies. You've absolutely nailed it on the head, Alan. I was just talking to somebody earlier today. Absolutely, nectar of the gods. Some dripping bread in the juices of the meat that was being cooked on a Sunday. Absolutely wonderful. Just something to keep an eye on. I'll start winding this up in about 5 minutes. But in Australia, another Marxist government, so New Zealand and Australia and Canada with a great triumvirate. I mean, even China. I mean, we don't find too much out about China, but they're more right-wing than the left-wing governments in the communist governments in Canada. And Trudeau's gone. He's gone. He's done. He's done. Finished. Trudeau... Jacinda Ardern and the Australian government. And the Australian government want to ban social media for the under-16s. They want to ban it. And somebody started asking questions, but keep an eye on Marxist Australia because they want to ban under-16s on social media. So hang on a second. How do you do that then? Because they'll just sort of, are you over 18? Yeah. And nobody knows. But Australia want to patrol it because you know that they're going to give you a solution to a problem that you never thought you had. So the under-16s, they'll be finding a solution to that particular problem, and then you know what's going to be rolled out, don't you? Correct. All adults. You can only get onto the internet if they allow you. But they'll get away with it in Australia because the Australians are not very bright. We sent them all of our criminals. They're not very bright. Mostly. And a beautiful country, but not bright. So now they'll stop the under-16s, but you know how they're going to do it? So under-16s, and then in time it might be the under-21s because they're not very bright. Their frontal lobes are not very well developed. And then they'll say to, unless you're aligned with the government of the day, then we're not going to allow you on the internet, you bastards. But that's why I've got a library. Because all my information's in books. I don't get on the internet. I mean, obviously, I use a bit of research. And for the quick stuff, I'll just, Google it. And Google's only been around 20 years, 25 or 6 years now. I remember using Netscape as my little navigator. Yeah, Terry, they'll use photo ID and driving license and stuff, but it's coming. It might take them 20 years, 20 or 30 years, but... Adrian, do you remember Bird's pork pies from working in Nottingham? Melton Mowbray wasn't too far away from Nottingham. I mean, I could drive it in like 15, 20 minutes from where I lived. I do remember the pork pies in the East Midlands. Fabulous. But Marxist Australia, they're going to start with the kids and then they'll roll it out here. I mean, can you imagine Starmer if we had the technology? And there is a reason why I'm mentioning this. Sunflower tinned fruit salad with tinned evaporated milk. That's nectar. Oh, I agree with you. So the reason why I mention this about Australia is they're going to use a UK-based age check certification scheme, the ACCS. It's been given a contract to trial age verification technologies that might be used to enforce the social media ban. So I'm going to have a look at this when I finish this live. I'm going to have a look at this because I want to know who the directors of this company are. Because you know how it works. There'll be a politician involved somewhere. Nice, grease me palm. But the Australians are going to use a UK-based age check certification scheme, ACCS, and they've been given the contract to trial age verification technologies. They'll take their time. They don't care if it takes 30 or 40 years because they know what the outcome's going to be. If you know what the objective is, you can see the journey. Elon Musk reckons Deadeye Starmer has gone full Stalin. And I watched him give this interview. That's in Deadeyes. I watched him give this interview, and he said, "Oh yeah, we've had £63 billion worth of investment." And I was like, "Whoa, hang on a second. Have you noticed how they're using investment? What do they get for their money?" So there's these billionaires, trillionaires, very nice governments around the world that are just going to give Starmer money. Nobody on God's green earth will give something for nothing. "Oh, don't worry. Oh, Sakia. Oh, yeah, lovely guy, lovely guy. I gave him 10 billion. Oh, don't worry about it." But what do you get back for your money? The NHS. I am telling you. Snake oil seller, liar, confirmed liar, Deadeye's Starmer, has said we've got £63 billion worth of investment. What the bloody hell are they getting for 63 billion? Remember the PFI, the Private Financial Initiative under Blair, where he sold. So all this investment came in and they built these hospitals, and then they would rent the hospitals to the hospital. So just for argument's sake, £10 million. It cost, I don't know, say Bishop Auckland, a northeast hospital place. And I know this because I used to do the hospital radio there. So they give them 10 million, they build a new hospital, and then the hospital has 100 years worth of rent. That's the contract, say. Arbitrary figure. And then they decided that the hospital wasn't good enough. So there's now a white elephant in Bishop Auckland where they use the PFI initiative money to build the hospital, and they don't use it anymore. But they've still got to pay the rent. So the NHS is paying the rent on a hospital that they don't use. How does that work? It's like the NHS is a different version of the Ukraine laundering mechanism. Money laundering. Because, and I am starting to do a deeper dive into Lucy Letby, because there's very, very clever people coming out saying, think she was innocent. And then there's doctors coming out today saying, "Oh, I think she might have killed more kids." Let's have a look at these doctors, shall we? Maybe in another live, maybe in another video. But it's starting to smell. And fish rots from the head down. So the NHS, it's a massive cash cow that people want pieces of. Rich says, Letby's an interesting story. I know. I need to do a deeper dive so that whatever I say I can be sure of. I mean, she's been found guilty on multiple counts. But if there's any doubt, then her conviction can't be safe. Oh, Sunflowers just said that. Lucy's conviction's starting to look unsafe. If it's unsafe, there might be a retrial. But there's certain elements of the story that I'm not comfortable with. I was going to talk about Angela Rayner at PMQs today. She couldn't speak. I mean, I don't know whether her mouthful was full at the time, but she was horrendous. Horrendous. I mean, surely she could have had some training. Surely the Labour Party would have taken her to one side and gone, "How are you, Lucy, man, Angela," or whatever your name is today. You're doing PMQs in a couple of weeks. Why don't we do a bit of practice, man? Bit of practice. I mean, Daisy Cooper for the Lib Dems. I thought about Angela Rayner, and I thought, that dress is a freebie. It's got to be a freezy. She would know. She wouldn't choose a dress like that to do her first PMQs on her own. Surely not. Yeah. And then Daisy Cooper. It's a technique that the Americans used, and the Brits they're not blessed with the greatest intelligence. They're not. They're as thick as pig shit, if you want the truth, in my view. And the American presidents would say, especially from George W. Bush, they would say, so-and-so, he's from the military, and he's had this happen, and that happen, and that happen. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. And they would stand up and round of applause. And this Lib Dem leader stood up and went, well, Cathy from St Albans. They're now using the techniques that the presidents use in America in our own chamber. And we're the mother of all parliaments, for crying out loud. We've done it longer than anybody else. I mean, America, it's only 250 next year. There's the Donald. Oh, can you imagine? Oh, look, the Democrats, Labour, the left, they're about as funny as a dose of piles. They're not funny at all. They're not funny. Can you imagine having a party with that lot? So America wants to have, the Donald wants to have a year-long party for the 250th, when they kicked the king out and said, oi, sling your up, mate, we're not paying the taxes. Wonder if they'll invite Charles. Oh, Charles, 250 years, why not? I mean, Trump's funny, but he's a Republican. He's not left-wing. I mean, the communists don't have a sense of humour. Can you imagine? Comrade. Get them to try and tell a gag. I mean, there are some left-wing comedians. They're not funny either. Maybe it's just my upbringing, my conditioning. I don't know. I'm going to round off. Don't get me going about Jaguar cars. So the clowns in the House of Clowns, it was shite today. Shite. And they kept going until 12:37, at which point BBC cut the feed. I mean, hang on. Starmer tried getting plants in the public gallery and referencing them and was reprimanded by the speaker. Did he? Oh, what a boy. I mean, Starmer, he uses his personality as contraception. Honestly, if he gets close enough to the camera, just look at his eyes. He don't blink. Dead eyes. Shark's eyes. Apex predator, but dead behind the eyes. In my view, it's just my view, Jaguar cars, oi, 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 oi. Have you seen what they're doing to them? Not the cars, the advertising. Go woke, go broke. Give it 3 to 5 years. I was going to talk about Mohammed Al-Fayed, but that's a kind of deeper dive. I'll do that tomorrow. And I will tell you that Robert Reeves is toast. She's absolutely, categorically toast. Do you know why? According to Guido Fawkes' website and social media, the Chancellor claimed she was an economist on legal documents at the time her team was saying she was not. So on a legal document, she's lied. Fraud. Gone. Toast. Hadaway and shite, man. Gone. So I'll do the fired thing tomorrow. But I want to. Do I want to do that? Let me tell you of a guy called. Now we can't comment on a live case. You know that. You're well versed now. I've told you. We can't comment on a live case as it's sub judice. But I'm hearing from reputable sources, very reputable sources, that a chief constable of a particular police force is about to announce they're going to step back. Just keep your eye on it. See when it comes out. Can't give you any more information than that. A bit like Nigel Farage. I know more than is out in the public domain. I don't say that to take the mickey out of you. But we have to be careful. And I'm not psychic, as I keep saying. If I was psychic, I'd win the bloody lottery every weekend. Be able to buy more hibiscus. Lovely. Well, there's a guy online called Harry Miller. And I think he's an ex-cop. But here's the thing. You know, with all these demonstrations and certain things are done right, certain things are not done right. Well, this Harry Miller guy, if you can find him on X, he's arrested a police sergeant. He's arrested a police sergeant using Section 4 of the Protection from Harassment Act 1997. So let me just explain what that is. Section 4 of the Protection from Harassment Act 1997 makes it an offence to cause someone to fear violence on at least 2 occasions. Wonder why I would be mentioning that, Adrian? So Section 4 of the Protection from Harassment Act 1997 makes it an offence to cause someone to fear violence on at least 2 occasions. The person charged must know or should know that their conduct will cause the other person to fear violence. The offence is triable either way, and the maximum penalty is 10 years imprisonment. But some defences to the offence include the conduct was pursued to prevent or detect crime. Okay? The conduct was pursued under any enactment or rule of law. Interesting. The conduct was reasonable to protect oneself or another or their property. Not sure a cop would be doing that. The offence is more serious if it is racially or religiously motivated. And the Protection from Harassment Act 1997 also includes Section 4A, which prohibits stalking involving fear of violence or serious alarm or distress. Why haven't we heard that before? So I'm just telling you, somebody who was out, not out, and obviously some police officer or sergeant has done something and they've gone, right, I'm arresting you, citizen's arrest, and I'm arresting you under Section 4 of the 1997 Protection from Harassment Act. 10 years inside. The rise up continues. My name's Adrian Allen. Thank you for all of your likes. Thank you for your subscriptions. But most of all, thank you for your indulgence. Yours wrongfully. I'll see you Sunday, 8 o'clock for more malarkey. And please remember to leave the body of the Kirk as you found it. No Battenberg crumbs, you wrong'un. And I hope you enjoyed the mulled wine, the glue vine, and the sermon this evening. See you Sunday, 8 o'clock. Maybe more before, but make sure you subscribe so you're there for whenever there's a notification for new videos. See you later. And be well. Stay healthy. And let's see what happens tomorrow if we are genuinely at war. See you Sunday.